Thank you, Music Man. All very, very good indeed. Coming shortly, Teresa Keenan, with holistic therapies that will take us into all kinds of territories. And, you know, we need all the therapies we can get nowadays when we're assailed by the slings and arrows of the outrageous fortunes of living on this goddamn planet at this time.
Oh dear.
Bill Tosh is with me, former boss of Dundalk PLC written across your forehead. You're now retired.
Well, allegedly, Rowan, I actually find it very difficult to retire and do nothing, you know. I have an interest in a couple of other businesses which gets me out of my bed in the morning.
Absolutely. But development around Carlingford Lough, around Dundalk, around Newry, community coming forward and creating new opportunities, new prosperity, that's very much at the heart of your concerns.
Yeah, I think that what has really the target now for me is that in my third age, and you know, I think to really have to give something back, and I think I look at every entity of where there's an economic developable aspect, you know, very acutely. I mean, there's some little things. There's a little project now in Green Ore around my part of the world, which is of interest to me, a business centre. And things like that. Although I worked in Shell and worked all over the place.
Yes, you did.
Really, what I see now is that we have to come together collectively, and people like myself who are at this age really have to start giving something back.
And also people with something to give back, because very often people like ourselves who have done moderately well in life and we feel we have still got capacity to contribute. An awful lot of people don't.
Well, that's very sad.
They go play golf.
Yeah, well,
something daft.
I did try that as well, but it didn't work out. I think that, you know, we often think that the state should do everything for us. It should stimulate the economy, it should run our services and so forth. But when it comes to stimulating business, the people who are best and most able should come forward, and they generally are people who have had careers which probably have spanned overseas in other jurisdictions, in other cultures, and I think they have to be encouraged to come forward, not for profit. Some of them will, in fact, offer opportunities for them to invest in those enterprises, but just bring their experience.
But that takes me back into our second age, when we were out earning our bread and doing things professionally. The one thing we never did, we never went into politics. And I say we, I'm talking about the generality of people like us who were in jobs and professions and whatever else. Now, as it is, most of the people today who are in politics is their profession. And I think politics is the poorer for it. We deprived politics of our skills over the years. And have you any regrets that you didn't, well, I put it another way, why the hell didn't you go into politics?
Well, actually, needless to say, I was approached I was approached at the last election in the Republic to run for two parties, but really at the age I am and with the other things I have on, I thought, you know, I just don't want to be sort of committed to Leinster House 4 days a week. I think that the issue is that politicians have to be elected, so they have to embrace populist attitudes. Whereas people who are in business tend to embrace pragmatic attitudes. They do things in a business-like way. And, you know, the populist attitudes don't always deliver the best value.
No, it's politics for me is the antithesis of rationale and good sense, because the politician is being led by the populist voice, where he should be leading from the point of view of pragmatism. This is the way, I know it's going to hurt you. We're getting a wee bit into this now, when they're giving us haircuts and austerity budgets and all of that. But it hasn't traditionally been the case. The politician has been led by the people rather than the politician leading the people.
Yeah, I think that politicians really are now have disabled themselves because they are now unable to take principled stands. There is also the issue of their experience. You know, I think it's fair and reasonable to expect that people in local politics need not necessarily be leading industrialists. But I think when you get into sort of national politics, like, for example, framing spatial policy, you really have to know something about what's possible. You would have to know what was possible to make this region work as distinct from some other region attracting it. There will be clusters that will be developable here.
Clusters is a good word. We're on the North-South Economic Corridor. I've been hearing that for 10 years at least. But now in cyber time, in cyberspace, when you can be up a tree with a laptop, Does it matter where we are, or is the north-south thing on the corridor still significant, Bill?
Oh, I think it is very significant. I think, I was brought up in Derry, and to this day I still recall the occasion when Derry was not awarded the second university, and it went to Coleraine.
That's right.
It went to a farm, basically, in Coleraine. When Derry was sitting there with a population, a demographic of nearly 100,000 people, but touching into Donegal, probably 150,000 within a 1 hour drive, and it was ignored for all the wrong reasons. I think that people, that investors, for example, will still be looking closely at the demographic of an area. Demographics, the size of the demographic is important. Certain things will work up to a demographic of 80,000 people, but so many more things will work if you had a catchment of a couple 100,000 people. And that's why a cross-border enterprise effort, I'll not call it a zone, would work so well here, because you have a lot of capability here. A lot of it is exported, a lot of it just slips away.
I see. I must say it fills me with joy, because it brings me back to my younger days of 19 when I went to sea as a radio officer in the Navy, and the romance of all of that, travelling the world. But every morning I waken to the thrum of the sea trucks coming and going into Warren Point Port. And Peter's Port is doing so very, very well.
Brilliant, yes.
Flowing in. I just discovered the other day that cement coming from Quinn Cement in Fermanagh, up in Cavan, or the north of Cavan, is coming down through Warren Point, been shipped out to the southeast of England for a new housing boom that's occurring there. For goodness sake, things are happening.
Well, but this is it, you see. I think sometimes we decry industry, but Peter's Port, I think he's handling.
It's a nice phrase, isn't it? Peter's Port.
Peter's Port, yeah.
Hello, Peter. He's now the boss of the chamber now.
Is he? Oh,
yeah,
good man.
we'll have, we want you Monday, Peter.
I'm pleased. But they've expanded the port. They've deepened the channel. They've nearly 3 million tons. Like, I can remember when that port did less than a third of that.
Yeah, of course.
And that brings jobs, but also it means it's spinning jobs out somewhere else, in Fermanagh and so on.
Yeah. Dundalk, as I say, was stamped on your forehead for a great part of your life. Well, not a great part, but a significant part of your life. And Newry, northern Dundalk and southern Newry are maybe a mile and a half apart, 2 miles apart. We're growing. Will there come a time when good sense will dictate that Dundalk and Newry become the one big city?
Well, they need not become, as jurisdictions, a single entity, but what they need to do is they need to become, as an economic entity, as a region. They need to become unified to create that demographic that will attract more people here. Just yesterday, I had a guy come in from the States who wanted me to advise him on something, and location was the thing that he wanted me to advise him on. And God bless Invest Northern Ireland, they were directing him to Newry, and this little business is actually going to come to Newry now. I can't tell you who it is.
No.
But he wanted to know where he could get specific skills, for example. And some of them were not available in Newry, but I was acutely aware that some of them were available. It was a cluster that's well established in Dundalk. And there is a win-win.
The institute in Dundalk.
Well, the IT Institute is a third level.
Both institutes, Newry and
Dundalk. You've the college here as well. So, I think that if you were batting, if you were picking, it's a bit like an All-Ireland soccer team.
Indeed.
It would make, we would make a bigger impact in that field, that sporting field. I think as a region we would make a much stronger impact. And some of the clusters that are developing here could be reinforced with clusters there and vice versa.
Good news, that's the way to leave it. The studio is constantly yours to promulgate your message of optimism in the economy. Do you do much promulgating nowadays?
Promulgating? No, I have depromulgated. It's like decommissioning. I have depromulgated myself. But I still get asked nevertheless.
Oh, don't resist the temptation to promulgate.
I can't.
No, you must continue.
It's not in my genes.
It's a case of constant promulgation. Coming shortly, we have got Teresa Keenan for you, and I'm going to allow myself to be taken to another plane entirely. But for now, Sean.